Lemon ice cream.
What?
I want to
Lemon ice
remind you,
cream.
it's lemon ice cream.
Lemon crunch.
Okay, lemon crunch.
Lemon crunch.
Lemon crunch. It's lemon crunch. And if you want the recipe, just either buy my book or take a picture of the page. Well, that was pretty fair, right?
They could just listen to you.
I don't really, all right, they could do that. Okay, we're going to use the Emery Thompson 12-quart machine. In my store, I have a 24. I've always had 24s in both stores. And it makes an easy transition to the 12. Just cut it in half. In the book, it'll give you the CB350, the 12, and the 24. Shameless promotion over?
Pretty good.
Okay. All right, so the first, bladders. You should tell the people watching at home, there's about 1,500 people here, so I'm going to...
Jeff, it's COVID. They know it's a lie. Sorry.
Actually, it's just me and my family. So the bladders come like this from your dairy, and it's basically cream. And it comes 2 bladders to a box. They call it a case. Runs about $45-50 for the case. So these run about how much?
$45.50. Half of that.
Okay, rewind and cut. Yeah, these run about not more than $25. Okay. So when you're computing your costs, as we did in class yesterday, I believe, you'll see that there's money to be made in this industry, silly money. It's like nothing else. As a matter of fact, if you want on your paper, just add up how much we're spending to make the ice cream, and I'll tell you how many servings we're going to get out of it, and then you too will jump into this business, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's put some, since there's no pitchers here for measuring.
Since when do you need a picture?
The way to handle these bladders, by the way, they come with this snazzy little top on it, and if you pick it up and choke it, because otherwise it's going to go all over the place, just choke it, make sure it's raised, and then pop the top off. Now you're safe until you cap it again. So just be careful with it. Right? So we'll put in, let's do 3 quarts this one, so that we don't have to go all the way to the top, and then we'll add more. Don't make me forget to add more.
All right.
So the first thing we're going to do, make sure the chute is closed. I still have a problem. You pour it in and it's on the floor. But not so much anymore. And I always make sure that there's a bucket underneath, and I put a towel underneath, just so it doesn't slip. Too many tips, right?
No, it's all good.
Okay. So we'll start by adding 3 quarts into the machine. The machines have been rinsed and sanitized, which it's easy to do, right, Matt? Not too hard. Oh, yeah. I mean, even you did it.
Yeah, hold it up.
So that's 3. We'll add another 2, right? Giving us 5 quarts, which is half a batch. Interesting tip is a 20-cent tip. When you're measuring something, even with a measuring cup, most people put the gradations on this side, and then they're caught doing this. If you simply turn it around and look through it, because they're all clear, you can see where you're going without having to bend down and measure. So we'll add another 2. And then we're through with this for the time being. You're going to use this, aren't you?
Yes.
All right. So we'll add the rest of this. I always felt like there should be music playing while we do this. You know, a little light jazz or something to...
I've got a new track of Seasick Steve, which is great. He makes his own instruments.
Something to fill the void. Okay, the next thing we need is sugar. And I've... Oh, see that? I almost made a mistake. We added too much sugar. 18 ounces of sugar is all we need. Because it's a half batch. So we'll go to 18 ounces of sugar. We'll zero out the scale. 18 ounces is 1 pound, 2 ounces, correct? Oh, it's a sharp class today.
So you can do a half batch in any of these machines?
You can
can
do a
on
half
the
batch.
you can on the 24, 44, and well, they can hear me. You can on the 24. The big floor models, you can do a half batch. He's not doing a half batch. He's doing just referring to it as a half batch. It's a 12-quart machine. So he's putting in a full batch for the 12-quart. But you can do a half batch in the 12, you can do a half batch in the 24 and the 44.
I thought I read somewhere you could not.
Not in the countertop machines. They have to be
Not in this
full.
one or the little one over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
These have a minimum, and it's just one size batch, no matter what you make.
And you wouldn't do it anyway because, first of all, you get only less than a gallon out of it, and you don't want that. And also, when you're trying to come up with a recipe, I teach you a way to do it on the counter so that you're sure what you're making instead of practicing in the machine. And some people call them test batches. You don't have to do test batches. All right, we're going to turn the machine on. There's just the mix in here. So we'll turn the machine on, we'll go to homemade, we'll start it up, and that's just the mix in there, the ice cream dairy blend. Now we'll add the sugar. I know.
Bad Jeff. The reason why he says I know is because Steve can't stand it when anybody adds straight sugar to the machine. When you do that, the sugar acts like sandpaper, and it's wearing on your blades. Is it going to wear it down to where you need to get new blades in 2 weeks? No. Instead of the blades lasting 5 years, it'll last you 4 years.
And truth be known, instead of the blades lasting 40 years, they'll last 30 years.
So basically, do not add the sugar until after you've added.
Well, let's not make that a written in stone, because I've been doing this for 15 years, and this is how I do it. Have I ever replaced my blades? Let's see. No. This is the greatest mixer in the world. You know how you have a KitchenAid? You put the bowl and you put the thing goes in. This is 100 times better than that. So it's okay.
It's no secret that Jeff and I disagree on everything. And the machine is such a wonderful mixer that there is no reason to put stuff in there and just let it mix for 3 or 5 minutes. Because if you've got an 8-minute freezing process, the first 2 or 3 minutes, it's basically liquid coming down to temperature. So even with the freezer on, it's mixing. However, I gave up trying to change Jeff, so we changed the machine. There's a timer on the infinite overrun control, and it used to start the second you turned it on. So Jeff's letting it mix, and he's talking, and he's telling stories, and he's talking about his new handlebar mustache, and the whole thing's
didn't take
going on,
5
and nothing's happening. We're just wasting time.
Like right now, he's standing there
Talk about
listening.
wasting
That's right,
time.
wasting time. Well, that's my job to waste time. And so the machine is counting up that it's been on for 2 or 3 minutes. So I couldn't change Jeff, so I changed the timer. Now that timer is not going to start recording until you hit the freeze button. So
Are you done?
you were also right about the sugar, but that's another story.
Okay, this recipe, so we have the mix and the sugar. Let's add some lemon juice. 16 ounces of lemon juice.
Is that your half?
Yes, that is the correct amount.
So you'd normally put in a quart on a 24-quart machine?
Yes, that's correct. Actually, yes, 32 ounces in a regular batch. 24.
Yeah, 12-quart.
So 16 ounces is, it's not on here. Oh gosh, the conditions I have to work with.
Well,
There we go.
There's 8 ounces in a
Okay.
cup, so
Well,
16 ounces is 2 cups.
At least you can read this. Look, you
But
can't
that's
read.
just,
Look,
that's
can
just
you
math,
read that?
math. 8 ounces
You know how old
in a
this
cup.
is? Older than Steve.
Let's use that.
Here,
Hey, Jeff, you remember how we make fun of executive chefs? I think we have met the enemy, and he is us.
Okay, so we'll add 16 ounces of this.
Or 2 cups.
That's 8. And 8.
So you don't have to like rush to do all this, right?
He doesn't. That's for sure. Me, I don't stand and make love to the machine. I come in, I make my ice cream or my ices, and I get going.
See, when I teach my class, there's a few reasons we get into this business. One of the reasons, one of my high reasons, is art. I like to create, I like to play, I like to have fun. Of course, when you're busy, you get in the morning, you make your ice cream, you go home. But like today, this is a play day for me because I don't care. So we're going to add Duncan Hines lemon pie filling.
I can smell it from here already.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So we'll add this right in here. All the ingredients, there's more of them over there if you want to shoot them with your camera or take a look at them or whatever. That's everything I'm using today is there.
We used to make 14 flavors in this class a day. Now we're down to, he's slowing down, enjoying the artiste.
I like to slow down. When you're young and you're interested in only money, you work fast.
I guess I'll be forever young.
Yeah, but the good thing is after you're in this business a few years, money is insignificant because you get all you want. It's true. During the break, you can come up and look at the machines and you can see how nice and big this spout is here. And believe me, I investigated a lot of machines and trying to get a lot of volume into a little spout, which most of them is ridiculous. This is a pleasure. We'll shoot it down there. And I think we're good to go. Now what I do is before, any spoons here?
You want spoons now?
Spoons? Before I turn on the refrigeration, and this is
Don't
true
worry.
of every batch of ice cream I make, before I turn on the refrigeration, I taste it. And right? And we've amended it many times. Needs a little more sugar, needs a little more lemon, needs a whatever it is. And even if it's too lemony or too sugary, what would you do to solve that problem before you turn it on? Correct. Good girl. Add more mix. So I'm going to give it a taste now. And let you know that it's astounding. The other thing we can add to this, you don't have to, but since it's listed as lemon crunch on your papers there, we'll turn the refrigeration on. I always also listen for the compressor to kick in, and I make sure that the water is coming into the sink. This is a water-cooled machine. A water line brings the water into it, and then a water line comes out.
I'm good.
And it should start to, oh, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay, there's the water. So now that the flow is fine and you've tasted it, you're good to go. And you can relax a little bit mentally. Now we'll add some cookies to it to give it a little bit crunch. So we'll add, I don't know how many. You guys tell me when to stop.
Are you going to add half in and half as it's coming out?
Well, we could do that. No, I don't add them when they come out, but I
Okay.
sometimes add them halfway through so they don't break up as much. I don't like to do that when they're coming out.
Okay.
I know you do, and most
Yeah.
people do. I'm
But-
not most people.
But the point is, the opening is, other machines have a large opening like this that narrows down to a ½ inch, so you can't get a cookie in. They don't want you to put a cookie in, or nuts or candies, because their beater system isn't strong enough to handle the extra load. Our opening is like that
Thanks.
all the way
It's a good
down
show.
through
They're
the
not gonna tell you
machine.
when to
So
stop.
you'll see us today dumping in bananas, cookies, nuts, anything we want right into the machine. Alcohol, we can put alcohol in. Everybody else has to add it later because they don't have enough refrigeration power. But that's a key factor, because we want to get as much ice cream made in an hour as we possibly can. So everything is designed to make it fast and efficient.
Okay, now that everything's in there, we have nothing to do for about 5 minutes.
So maybe we have some questions. Anybody have any questions so far? Yes, sir.
Was that 14% change?
This is what the
10%.
question was. I'm going to answer or repeat the question just in case the mics don't pick it up. The question was, what's the butterfat content of this bag? It's 10%, which is the federal minimum to call it ice cream. By perspective, Haagen-Dazs, customer I helped put into business, is 16%. Ben & Jerry, who we did, is 16%. Everything's going to fall within that range. And you think, well, 10, 12, what difference does it make? Well, if you go to the supermarket and you pick up whole milk, that's 4% fat. If you get low-fat milk, it's 2% fat. And you know there's a world of taste difference between whole milk and low-fat milk. And then skim milk is either 1% or 0. So a 1 or 2% change makes a big difference. So why am I running the lowest grade there is? To me, from my have found out over the years, it depends on where you are in the country and what the customs are. If you're up in Wisconsin, the dairy state, probably going to run a 14% butter fat because they like it a higher fat, and in colder climates, it does well. A 14 or a 16% in Florida with a 90 degrees and 100% humidity, it's like eating a big Ruth Chris lunch, a couple of filet mignons, and then going out in this 90-degree heat. You're going to start sweating. It might upset your stomach because of the high fat content. So if I'm going to use a low-fat product, I'm going to compensate for it with more flavor. Nobody ever walked out of an ice cream parlor and said, oh, that's the best fat content I ever ate. I love it. I can't wait to come back tomorrow. They don't say that. They say the mint chip was really minty and the chips weren't chalky. People eat flavor. So the dairy is the carrier. It's what's going to make us the product. I'll be right with it. Now in Manhattan, where I'm from, I use 14 in Wisconsin. If I'm in New York, I'm probably going to run 16. Not because I think 16 is better, but because Christy's got a store in Manhattan. She's running 14%. And I want the bragging rights. I'm the richest ice cream in Manhattan. And so I'm going to run 16. That's the only justification for it. So the old expression, too much is never enough. Well, in ice cream, that's not true. The higher the fat, the more you've got to cut through it with flavor. And at the same time, the lower the fat, you want the flavor, again, to be the important thing. Yes, you had a question.
So, I understood you to say that if you add alcohol, that the machine, something with the temperature of the machine.
The alcohol never freezes. I think the freezing point is something like minus 243. So you can put a bottle of vodka in your freezer at home and it won't freeze. It'll just get really cold and a little thicker. So our machines have enough freezing capacity going through the cylinder that the alcohol will never freeze, but it will stay in suspension. Any other book you read on ice cream making alcohol, they're going to say once the ice cream's made, you're making rum, bourbon, rum, vanilla. You make your vanilla, and as it's coming out, you pour in your bourbon. Well, that doesn't really make for a good ice cream because it's not an even blend. If we can put it into the machine and it stays in suspension, we're going to have a much better alcohol ice cream. Same with sorbets. Now, the only little trick to it is in your serving freezer, whether it's a chest freezer like Jeff uses or a dipping cabinet. If this was my dipping cabinet, this is wrapped all the way around. Am I burning good time?
Oh, you're doing great.
This is wrapped all the way around in refrigeration coils. So the sides get cold. Every side gets cold. So if this box is set at 6 degrees Fahrenheit, that's the temperature right here with a couple of coils going by. But over here, there's a couple of coils here and a couple of coils here. So this 6 degree box is actually colder in the four corners. So I'm going to put my high sugar content ice creams, which are harder to keep cold, in the four corners, and or my alcohol flavors in the four corners to get an even scooping. You ever go to an ice cream parlor and you see the server scooping this one easily and another one fighting with it? The owner doesn't know that trick, that the four corners are colder than the center of the box. It's just that simple. But everything can go into the Emery Thompson.
And now, the most popular question at this point is, when do we take it out?
So I can get this one.
And that's judgmental. He takes it out later, I take it out earlier, Christy takes it out right in the middle. I didn't mean it that way.
That's right. And it makes no difference.
All right, let's check it out. It's still a little soupy, but it's getting real close.
Well, remember the last seminar, you told people why you like to pull yours a little bit thinner than most do?
And why is that?
Well, I'm going to give your spiel. All right, so he likes to pull his a little bit thinner for the fact that it layers a lot more evenly in your container, and it settles, so you don't have a lot of air pockets. And if you pull it thick, you have to take your container and give it a couple bangs to just settle it all down.
You just have to be careful with inclusions. Inclusions being nuts, chips, raisins, berries, because if you pull it too soon with that, it'll settle. Because when you put this in your freezer, it takes a little time and they might settle. So there's a line there, and you'll get that after 3 days. After you make 2 batches of ice cream, you'll know.
When you put it in the pan, what are your steps for freezing and then getting it to the dipping cabinet? What are your steps?
What's the question?
The question is, what are the different temperatures that we're keeping it at to get it frozen down?
Oh, you can answer that.
You want to do it with the hardening cabinet?
Well, you're better at the hardening cabinet. That's more my thing.
Jeff does it by using a Sears chest freezer. We're trying to get people oftentimes into business for the least amount of money. Because if you're 35 years old and you want to go into business, no bank is going to loan you money. You know, I'm a little older than 35, and no bank is still going to loan me money. They're just not loaning money. So we're looking for a lower priced way to do it. And the start off way, to answer your question, is with a CB350. And over in the corner of this room is a couple of Sears white chest freezers. They're about almost 6 feet long, 5.5. We turn them all the way cold, and we make the ice cream, and we put it in there, and it'll harden overnight down to 10 below. If we need to do a larger volume and faster, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
If we need to do a larger volume and faster, we're going to go to our new hardening cabinet, which is 25 below. And with the chest freezer, you can fill it up, like in this box. This is my chest freezer. I can fill it up 1/3 today, and it'll freeze the ice cream. Tomorrow, another third, and another third. That's all it's capable of without the temperature rising. If I use this, I can fill the whole box up in an hour, and it'll still stay super, super cold. So it's a matter of what you have to work with. But the idea is get it rock hard, leave it there, or then move it to your dipping cabinets depending on the weather. You know, how much you need today. Christy's going to serve this up, and we'll pass it around to you to try.
The hardest part about doing this is not licking your fingers.
Yes.
What is the shelf life for the bladders of mix?
The shelf life of what?
The bladder.
What's the shelf life of the bladder? About 10 days to 2 weeks once you, if it's liquid. We're only making ice cream every other month for these classes, and so I get an order in and I freeze it. And then 3 days in advance, I take it out and move it to the refrigerator to thaw. Their shelf life is, 4 months, 5 months, somewhere around there. But from when you get it, 10 days is a good benchmark of how long you can keep it refrigerated.
What supplier? Where do you get that?
It comes out of local dairies all over the country and all over the world,
All
depending
you
on...
really have to do is Google your zip code, comma, ice cream mix or dairies, and they'll give you all of them within a radius.
I
And
didn't
you're
know
more
that.
you're more than welcome
That's a
to
good
also
trick.
give us a call because we have a list
That's
of
what I tell
dairies that are
everybody. It
in your
works.
state and near you. And if none of those dairies can service you, we have even more dairy suppliers in the surrounding states that are next to you because they can always ship. Sometimes it gets costly, but shipping is an option.
So the products are readily available, and it's put together. You could make your own mix, but the problem is you're going to have the federal government, the FDA, in your store all the time, because now you're going to be considered a dairy. So you're going to have to buy the ingredients, and that's the hardest part. Try buying 50 gallons of heavy cream. You buy cream, it's in a half-pint container in the supermarket. So just getting the ingredients will be hard. And then, not to be too cynical, but, you need to know what's the difference between a Holstein, a Jersey, and a Guernsey cow as far as fat output. It varies from 29 to 34%. You then need to know that a cow varies between winter and summer as far as fat output. So if you've got a dairy doing it for you, they're balancing this all year round, dairy scientists, so that what you get in January is the same as what you're going to get in July. Yes, sir.
Just to add on to that, what you said earlier, if you freeze that, does it do anything at all? I mean, in your own stores, would you do that? Does it do anything to the quality of the mix when you thaw it a month later and use it? Like I wouldn't freeze a steak.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot because talking to a dairy years ago, the dairyman said, I would never freeze mix. That's like opening up a Pepsi and putting it in the fridge and tomorrow it's going to be flat. And then he went nationwide and he said, he's shipping it all over the country. He said, oh, it's great. It's so easy. It makes no difference. I'll leave that up to you. I always like to deal with fresh rather than having to go through the hassle of 3 days in advance putting it in the refrigerator. And the problem with freezing mix is if there's one little particle of ice in here that didn't thaw, it's going right into the machine and it's coming right out again as ice in your ice cream. So working with it within the 10 days is great. If you have no other choice, buying it and freezing it is better than using some powdered mix from Italy. The Italians don't have dairies the way we do. They have beef cattle, but they don't have dairies, so their mix comes as a powder. The cows are in Argentina. They're milked in Argentina. It's put through a machine called a spray dryer that was invented by another family friend of mine. It turns it into a powder. They ship it to Bologna, where it's packaged up in these nice foil bags, shipped to the Port of Elizabeth, and then shipped to you in Iowa. This stuff's got more sky miles than I do. And you can't beat it
Now,
coming out
that
of...
being said, sometimes that's your only alternative. I have people in
that's
my
true.
class from all over the world, and many of them can't get the bladders. So I give them two options. Fabry, right?
Yeah,
Fabry makes a powdered mix.
and it's good.
And so does the Amish people. They make one out of Pennsylvania. They make a powdered mix also. And if that's your alternative, so be it. Don't forget, you're adding tremendous amount of flavor to your ice cream. So the fact that, of course, that's preferred, but if I had to open an ice cream store in Singapore, I would buy the powdered mix.
I agree. It's all a matter of what's available to you. We used to ask people, which I realized was the wrong question, because we're asking to hear accolades about how great we are. We would say, how do you like the ice cream? Well, we've gotten older and wiser, Jeff and I and Christy, and now we say, what would you change different? Is there anything in what you're eating right now that you would do differently? Anybody have any comments on what they think? How was the lemon level? Was it good? Did it have enough
Why
cookies?
don't you taste it?
A little bit more crunch.
A little more crunch? Okay, I will taste it.
Also, what you can do with this in the store, we keep a big supply of, here, right there. We keep a big supply of the 99-cent pie bases. You know, in Walmart, they have Oreo pie bases and graham cracker, and they're 99 cents. And we fill them after we fill our quota of ice cream. We take what's left, make a pie or two, put the plastic on it, label it lemon, put it in the freezer, and we sell those for $10. And they fly out, and there's all flavors. I'll even take requests for flavors because I know I'm going to make something in the next week that they'll want. So it's a good thing to do, and this tastes like a pie, doesn't it? I mean, it is
delicious.
Could be a pie.
So let me ask you a question. You take requests. What if I wanted to take this delicious lemon ice cream and make it lemon crunch? What would you use for crunch?
There is a universal crunch that I use. It's sitting right there on the table. And those are crushed Heath bar pieces. And I go through, I don't know, 8-10 bags a week like this. These are 8-pound bags. This is a great crunch. You can change the crunch. They're real. You'll see later we're going to use this. You can even make it smaller crunch using the Ninja. So this is one of my go-to crunches. In this ice cream, you can also take the lemon cookies, throw them in the Ninja, pulse them a little bit, throw that in the ice cream. Some of you got pieces of cookie in there, right? Yeah. Because I added halfway through, I broke them up and threw them in. And you can do more or less. There's the art. There's the art. You can have my recipes, and you notice in my recipe, all the ingredients are precise except the cookies, because that's up to you. And that's what's going to make your reputation as the best ice cream maker in the world, because you may want a lot of crunch. You may want it to be really crunchy. You may want it to be smooth and velvety. So that's going to be the difference in your ice cream stores. And that's the art of ice cream.